there definitely seems to be some instant, episodes, say the Nimitz aircraft carrier in 2004, where basically you go, wow, that's kind of weird.
I was going to ask you about that. You talk about the Tic
Okay.
Tac?
Yeah. So I'm not sure each way, but I say, like, you can't just easily dismiss this. Okay. Somebody's got to look at these details. Like, I'm not the expert to look at these details. So I know this isn't my job, but I can tell, look, this isn't, you can't just wave your hand and say that's a balloon or, sunlight reflecting off the water or some crap like that. I mean, come on. It's definitely more than that. Obviously, if you're talking about Navy pilots and what they're seeing, then those are the kind of people who would have the evidence and know specifics of, what kind of things you might see when and how they'd look, and et cetera. And they should be speaking to that part of the analysis.
And you can't just do the typical, oh, he's a crazy whack job when you're talking about David Fravor, because he's not. He's as legit as they come as far as
right.
As far as
it doesn't mean he's right. I mean, in principle, he could still be wrong, but you can't just wave your hand and say that's crazy.
He's crazy. The scary thing to me is, what if they're Russian or Chinese, and it's some kind of hidden technology? But
but the strange thing there, look, the technologies that would be real if these technologies are what they seem aren't just a little bit more advanced than what we have.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's a lot.
It's way more. And you think, look, if you were paying billions of dollars for militaries in order to defend yourself or even be, support aggression, you've got a budget and you're trying to spend it the best you can. If they had access to this sort of technology, I look at the way they spend all the other money we can see and I go, why would you be spending your money that way? Look, you have this super spectacular tech. It's just weird. It's like, if you can make tanks and you're spending money on horses, I'm going why spend money on horses for battle? If you can make tanks, then yeah, of course you'd be making tanks. So the puzzle is, if this is Chinese or Russian, what are they doing with all the other crap they spend money on? I mean, we can see in, Ukraine-Russia war, we see what the Russians are spending money on, and they're struggling with it. And we can see it looks like they're trying as hard as they can. And look, if they had technology like the Tic Tac, why wouldn't they be using it? Why would they be spending money on all this other stuff that's so much less effective?
I never thought of that particular concept before. That's kind of like building bow and arrows when you got submachine guns. Like, why do you have a bow and arrow department?
Right. So that's the problem, of course. I mean, obviously another problem is look, there's a lot of leakage. The world, no one part of the world is that much more advanced than the rest, because we all have, ability to look over the fence and see what people are doing, and, sneak over there and, hire people from there to come over here. And that's why, technology leaks all over the world, because, we are all looking to keep up with everybody, right?
That's the Chinese space shuttle. It's just like ours.
Right, exactly. So
exactly.
So that limits sort of how plausible it is that they could be vastly more advanced on any particular tech than we are, right? Among the people that we know on the Earth. So somehow you'll have to explain these weird things in terms of some tech that's clever, but not that much better than what we've got. But that's a kind of a hard story to tell about stuff. It looks on the surface like, no, this is crazy better.
It looks like it's like thousands of years more.
So that's the hard part of explaining this in terms of other familiar Earth organizations, is just how are you going to tell the story that this is just a bit better than what we got?
Maybe it's like a laser guided drone. But that's still, it's a solid object doing that.
I mean,
it's hard to think.
A better story is that people have figured out how to send particle beams or lasers that intersect and then make a glowing thing that's just a plasma that they can move around, because they just turn the direction of these lasers. And so they can make them suddenly jump or speed along, because there isn't really a thing there. There's just a glowing pile of gas that they made by projecting beams on it. That's a possibility, but the question is,
about it.
How much could that make sense? But I mean, we should go back to basics. Look, when we're trying to explain this stuff, we have a limited range of theories we can work with, right? One set of theories is just mistakes and delusions, right? It was a balloon, it was a reflection, it was the moon, it was Venus, it was,
swamp gas.
Right, exactly.
Piss off Jimmy Carter.
So that's one class of solutions. And I gotta say, that works for a lot of cases out there, but there's certainly a set of cases where that's just a really hard stretch. The point is, there are these harder cases, and mistakes and delusions is a hard sell, but it still could be true in some sense that maybe there's a way we're not really thinking about the sort of mistake or delusion you could make. And once we understand that, we'll go, oh, I guess, this makes sense. But still.
Yeah.
Right.
So far with it too.
Okay. Another class of theories is, as you were just mentioning, some hidden organizations on Earth of other humans that are keeping secrets and are, hiding tech that they've got that the rest of us, don't know about. And then again, the question is, well, why aren't they using it for all the other expensive stuff they seem to be spending on? But okay, that's a second class of solutions. A third class of solutions is, okay, maybe they're really aliens, right? And that's what I was talking about having the prior for. Okay, we can go into that more if you want. What would make sense there? But there's a fourth class of solutions we should notice and keep in mind, and that's hoaxes and lies.
Don't forget that. Yeah.
So if you look at, say, the U.S. government over the decades, they have sometimes lied. They've sometimes faked things, especially saying, we know that in World War II, they made whole fake fleets, fake invasions, and all sorts of things to try to trick the other side into thinking a bunch of stuff was happening that wasn't happening.
Inflatable tanks.
Exactly. And we've even had, secret CIA or whatever projects that didn't come to light till several decades afterwards. They kept the secrets for a long time, right? So, and on the prior, so we got to say the prior on that's pretty damn high. That is, they do, this happens, right?
It's almost a thing.
Right. Okay.
It's like your shtick.
So, and if you look at the evidence, you go, okay, well, how could hoaxes and lies explain this? Look at this cool stuff that David Fravor says he saw, and we go, says he saw. Hoaxes and lies, says he saw. Well, I mean, how are we sure that he's not lying, right? That's where you got to go when you're thinking of hoaxes, lies. You're trying to think of all these people you would usually trust, and asking, yeah, but what if it was a lie? And so I do think you got to go there mentally and try to think about all of these famous events and go, well, let's think, look at the custody of evidence here. Like, who was holding this evidence when, and who could have messed with it when? Who are you believing exactly? So I don't mean to imply that's a case shut, we're done, and explains it. I just mean, look, you got to be looking at this family of explanations.
It's got to be a factor. And I think what helps him out is the gimbal footage that came out a couple years later that actually had pictures of what he saw, even though it was in the IR spectrum.
Sure. But, people can fake with pictures too.
Oh, you telling me? Fake pictures? What?
Yeah. So that's why you gotta be careful. But honestly,